All right, guys, welcome back to more Voltorb Flip. We're going to be learning some strategies on how to play Voltorb Flip. It is a mini game in the casino in Pokemon HeartGold and SoulSilver. I don't know why I always say SoulSilver. Let's check out level 2. We did level 1, which is our tutorial level. Let's look at level 2. All right. So again, we need to figure out what are the best rows and columns to tackle first. We want to use any information that we can to successfully find every number that is not a 1, as well as not find the Voltorbs. So let's see, using our columns and our rows. Did I do that backwards? Yeah, using our rows and our columns. Which squares would be the safest, or which rows and columns would be the safest to examine first? I'll give you a second to figure that out. Okay, again, you always want to start with what is safest. And safest here means there's no Voltorbs. So let's start with the blue row, which has 7 points and 0 Voltorbs. The 1 times 3. All right, so we got 3 coins already. And then we also have the yellow column, which has 0 Voltorbs, and has 5 points. Again, we know that if there's 5 spaces and there's 5 points and and no Voltorbs, that means that everything here will be a 1. And that's okay, because that's information that we will probably need to use later on. Okay, so we found every square in a row or a column that does not have any Voltorbs. Where do we go next? What's next? I'll give you a second to figure out which ones we could tackle next. Okay, so if this was me just doing it on my own, the next part I would tackle would be the yellow row, because it has 2 points and 3 Voltorbs. If the numbers add up to equal 5, that means that row or column has nothing but 1s and Voltorbs. And as I've said before, clicking on them is not helpful because you only get points based on the number multiplying over. I have 3 coins already, and getting a 1 will be 3 times 1, which means I'll get 3 coins, which means it's pointless. It's risky, in fact, to click on that one. We could also say the same thing for the purple row, which has 3 points and 2 Voltorbs. 3 plus 2 is 5. Excuse me. Don't tell anybody I said that. 3 plus 2 is 5, so it would be pointless. Sorry, not pointless, but risky to click for no reason. And I believe that's all that matches that. Okay, so now we got some work to do. I think the next the next row or column we should check out is the green row, because it has 8 points and 1 Voltorb. We want to use the most points with the least amount of Voltorbs. Okay, so 8. We already have 1 point figured out, so that means there's 7 points left, and one of these squares has a Voltorb. So if there's 7 points left and one of these has a Voltorb, that means any square can have anything in it. Any square in this in this green row can have either 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, or a Voltorb. So it's not really safe just yet to click on anything. So let's not click on anything. Moving on, we can check out the red column in the red row. I'm going to check out the red row because we know much less about the red row than we do about the red column. And then we can check out the red column next. Let's see. There's 6 points and 1 Voltorb. There's 6 points and 1 Voltorb. And we already have 1 point. So let's see. That's 5 points among 4 squares, and one of those squares is a Voltorb. So if this square is a Voltorb, this is just hypothesis, not saying it is. If this square is a Voltorb, that means we have 3 squares left, and in those 3 squares, we need to find 5 points. So that means these squares can also have anything in it. It can be a Voltorb, 1 point, 2 points, or 3 points, which means it's not safe to click on it, so we're not going to click on it. Now we need to cross-check information because we do have information on every single square, kind of. Now we need to cross-check. I did all the rows first, so now we'll look at the columns and see what checks what out. Okay. In the red column, like I said, I'll look at that one next. The red column has 6 points, and one of those squares is a Voltorb. So if the red column has 6 points, and we already know 1 here, that means among these 4 squares that are left, there's 5 points and 1 Voltorb. So let's see. If this is a 3, If this is a 3 and this is a 1 and this is a 1, that would make 6 here among all of these. And then there'd be a Voltorb. So our 3 is we already knew that, but our 3 is definitely within these two. Or it could be a 2. Or these could both be 2s. It's tricky. We can't make that call just yet. We're going to move on to green column. Green column has 5 points and 2 Voltorbs. We already have 1. So in these 4 squares there to the left, there are 4 points and 2 Voltorbs. There's 4 points and 2 Voltorbs. Again, we can't make any guesses. We can't make any guesses on anything in the green column. This one's really hard. And then the same, we're in trouble. The same goes for the exact same, not the exact same thing. Actually, I think we can do the blue column, which has 5 points and 2 Voltorbs. We already know where 3 points are, so that means there's 2 points left and 2 Voltorbs among every other square. For that to be the case, that would mean that every square in the blue column that we don't know is either a Voltorb or a 1. Pointless to check them. That column is done. We're good with the blue column. All right. Now we can use that information a little bit because we got rid of the 2 that were here. The 2 and the 3s that were here. So let's see. Let's go back over it again. And I think it's easier to do that with the 6 points and 1 Voltorb in the red row. Let's check that out. Okay. There's 6 points and 1 Voltorb in the red row. We already know where 1 point is and possibly another. Am I doing that right? So that's 2 points. I think I'm doing that wrong. I'll try it. There's 2 points here. That means there's 4 points. There's 4 points and 1 Voltorb among these. Am I saying that right? I think I'm doing that wrong. I might be stretching it. There's 5 points between these 4 squares. And then there's 4 points between these 2? Is that what I'm getting at? That would mean there's no 3 in this. I don't think there's a 3 in this row. I might be getting this wrong. But I don't think there's a 3 in this row because the numbers would not add up. So let's go ahead and cancel these. Let's cancel these. We're gonna have to guess something eventually. Maybe wait. Let's undo that. Let's undo that. I'll come back to that line of logic. Let's instead go to the 8. We have 3s here, 2s here, and 1s in everything. Okay. So let's see. 8 points and 1 Voltorb. So that would mean 2, 2, 2. If these were all 2s, that would only add up to 7 points. So there has to be a 3 here somewhere. One of these is a 3, and the others are 2s? Is that right? Let's try that. 3. I got it wrong. Let's see what happened. That was hard. I'm not gonna lie. That was a hard one. I knew I wasn't gonna get it. I was trying, though. The Voltorbs were down there. Okay. Voltorb Flip, level 2. Let's try level 2 again. You won't automatically go back down, but if you mess up too many times, you'll go back down. Okay, so let's try it again. Where do we start? Where's a good place to start? Let's start with the green column, which says there are no Voltorbs there. Let's check that. All right. No Voltorbs there. What else do we know? What else do we know right now? We know that the purple column either has 1s or Voltorbs and nothing else. We also know that about the blue column. Purple Voltorbs. I'm sorry. Voltorbs or 1s and nothing else. We also know this about the purple row. Voltorbs or 1s and nothing else. All right. So let's see. Where do we go next? Where should we go next? I kind of want to check out. Okay, let's see. If we look at the red row, it says 5 points and 1 Voltorb. If everything here is 1 point, that would be 5 points, but there's no Voltorb. So one of these has to be a 2. One of these that's left has to be a 2. And the other is a Voltorb. Or a 1, because we don't know if these are Voltorbs or 1s. Okay. Same goes for the green row. The exact same case for the green row. Where do we go next? Where do we go next? Okay, let's look at 5. Let's look at the red column, which has 5 points and 2 Voltorbs. So there's 2 Voltorbs here. There's 2 Voltorbs here. I'm just hypothesizing. There's 2 Voltorbs here. And between the other 3 squares, there's 5 points. So that means there has to be 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, or 3. So potentially, these 2 squares can be anything. For the moment, these 2 squares can be anything. Now, if we take that, let's not do that just yet. I was gonna do some next level logic. Let's not go there yet. I still haven't done level 2 successfully. We'll look at the yellow column, which has 7 points and 1 Voltorb. 7 points, 1 Voltorb. If there's 1 Voltorb here, again, hypothesizing, there's 1 Voltorb here, that means among these 4 squares, there has to be 7 points. So right now, these could be anything. These could be anything. And that's okay. Now, this was the level of logic I was going to jump to. Let's go to the blue row, which has 5 points and 2 Voltorbs. 5 points, 2 Voltorbs. We already know 2 points here. We already know that there are 2 points here. So that means among these squares that are left, there are 2 Voltorbs and 3 points. 2 Voltorbs and 3 points. That would mean, let's assume these 2 are Voltorbs. That would mean between these 2 squares, there has to be 3 points. So one of them is a 2 and one of them is a 1. So there is no 3 in the blue row. So we can get rid of the 3s here. All right. Let's step up the logic just a little bit. Let's step it up. This is hard. This one's hard. They make sure when you come to the casino in Goldenrod City, they make sure you know what you're doing. Okay. Let's go back to the red column. I want to go back to the red column. 5 points, 2 Voltorbs. 5 points, 2 Voltorbs. Let's assume... this is actually hard to assume because there's so many different squares. This square can be anything. If there's 5 points... If there's 5 points here... 2, 4, 5. Oh, this is hard. This one's hard. I don't think that's where we need to go at all. Where do we need to go? I think we're at a point where I just have to assume for one of these squares. Let's look at it by row. One of these 2 squares is a 2. The other is a 1 or a Voltorb. I'm gonna guess this one because it intersects with the column with the least or with less Voltorbs. It's a good guess. That was completely a guess. Can't say I knew the logic on that one. Okay, so if this is a 2 and there's 5 points and 1 Voltorb in this row, that means everything else in this row is either a 1 or a Voltorb. That will help us out when it comes to this column. So let's go back there. Let's see if we can figure that out now. 5 points, 2 Voltorbs. If this is a 3, then everything else is a 1 or a Voltorb. If this is a 3, then everything else in the red column is a 1 or a Voltorb. So let's see. If this is a 2, that means there's a 2 somewhere else in here. This one's actually very risky to pull. I'm not going to pull that just yet. I think I should go back to this 7. This is 2. So that means among these 4 squares that are still hidden, there are 5 points. One of these is... I want to say a 2. Can't make that call just yet. I can't make that call. I'm going to guess this square. I'm going to guess this square because it has the least Voltorbs out of everything else and the highest points. This is risky. Don't try this at home, kids. Got it. All right. So we know 4 points in the yellow column. There's 4 out of 7 points revealed already. That means that there are 3 points left. There's 3 points left. So one of these squares is a 2, and the other 2 are either a Voltorb or a 1. We're at a risky point. So we know not to click this one, obviously. We've known that one forever. I don't know why I just said that. Sorry. I'm going to click this one because, again, it's the least risky of the 2. This one has the row that it intersects with has 1 Voltorb in it, while the row that this one intersects with has 2 Voltorbs in it. I'm going to click this one. That could 100% be wrong. Here we go. All right, that was a 1. I risked it. I risked it for the biscuit. Here we go. We know 5 points here. So this has to be a 2 because there's 1 Voltorb and we're still missing 2 points. This one here has to be a 2. All right. Getting nervous. This is like bomb defusal for me. Let's see. Oh, we know something about this row, I believe. We have 4 points revealed, and there's 5 points in the square, and there's 2 Voltorbs. That means this one has to be a 1 or a Voltorb. We're done with the blue row. We're done with the purple row. We're done with the blue row. Is this a 2? I believe this has to be a 2 in the yellow row and red column intersection. I believe this has to be a 2. If this is a 3, that means there's 2 Voltorbs here. This has to be a 2. All right, we're almost done. We're almost done. This is the last one to click on, isn't it? We have 2 points here, and there's 2 Voltorbs in this column with 5 points. If there's 2 points, that means there has to be 3 among this, and then 2 Voltorbs. It can't be 1, 1, 1 because we're missing a Voltorb. This is it. Got it. Oh, I did it. I did it. That's Voltorb Flip in a nutshell. It gets very difficult. It gets very difficult. Again, we've cleared them all. We're gonna get all these coins. We're gonna get 64 more coins. Here we go. Did it. We're on to level 3. I'll do level 3 in a less tutorial-esque playthrough because level 3 is hard. It's some next level logic. I'll talk through what I'm thinking, but I won't do it like a tutorial. And of course, if you guys love Voltorb Flip and would love to see more, let me know. This is one of the games that I think is kind of weird for me to play on the channel, but if you guys enjoy and want to see more, I have no problem with doing more. Until next time, guys. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe so that you can see more as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching.